Hello everyone. Today we have very special guest with us, Aditi Sinha. She is founder of Point of View Label, a women clothing brand, and her USP is she is creating clothes for women with pockets because 80-90% of clothes do not have pockets. Welcome Aditi. Super happy to have you here. How are you feeling today?
Amazing. I'm really glad that you're doing this and that we're doing this together. We've had so many conversations off camera, off mic, on life and times, and this is amazing.
So glad you are here. So let's start with the easy questions.
Are there going to be tough questions as well?
Maybe.
Okay.
What do you do in your life nowadays? Like क्या चल रहा है आजकल?
हसल चल रही है बस सुबह उठते हैं हसल करना चालू and no, but in general, I think 90% of my life at this point is POV. So I'm the founder, I'm the driver, I'm the delivery person. So just making sure that all of the pieces are somehow coming together, falling in place, and in a way that is moving us forward towards a vision that we saw, I don't know, a year and a half back. So just hustling towards that.
It's hustle mode. आजकल बस यही चल रहा है, hustle चल रहा है. And I was saying that I'm just curious कि what does that 90% of time contribute amount to in number of hours?
Yeah, very difficult to say. It's all of my waking hours. I sleep about 6 to 7 hours a day, and that is not necessarily at night because I have half of my team in India because my production is in India, and so all day is meetings, plannings, whatever else, figuring out sales and all of that here. And then mostly all through the night, I'm up to talk to my designer, to the manufacturer, to our project manager. So I would say that if I'm able to get about 6 to 7 hours of sleep somewhere between the hours of 2 a.m. to 8 a.m., I'm good. Everything else is on POV.
Yeah, I think you are in hustle mode.
But it's the only way to do a startup.
Yeah,
There
no, I
is
agree.
no other way to do a startup other than hustle.
I agree, totally
Yeah.
agree. I'm just curious where this name came from. What do you mean by POV, point of view?
Very good question. So I'm a brand person inside out. Before I knew what our company will be and how it will take shape and all of that, I was very clear on what is my brand going to stand for. And I wanted it to be a thinking woman's brand. I wanted it to mean something to me, to our audiences and all of that. And so the name was really important to me. We went through a bunch of names. We started to think about things like tomorrow, because tomorrow we will have pockets equality. And then because we were in the workwear space, we also thought of things like the corner office. But then we thought it's too narrow, and while a corner office is a really good North Star to have in the professional world, it's not the only thing, right? And so, we were going through one name after another and all of that. And then one of those days when we were watching Making the Cut or Project Runway, one of those, the designer came and they said, this is my point of view on the Gaza crisis or on something like that. And I realized how point of view was such a great assimilation of two or three things that I really wanted in my brand. This whole thing about the personality that it wanted to embody, having a perspective, having a voice, even saying that we need pockets equality is a perspective, right? And then it also had a really nice connection to the world of fashion, because point of view is how designers sort of present their lines and dedicate their lines to a particular thing or whatever. So we thought it's bringing so many things together, and it has a really nice ring to it. POV is something that everyone either has or wants, and so we were like, you know what, this is it. This rings home.
You said that it is a technical world in fashion industry.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that? Like I'm not aware.
Well, I wasn't either, but point of view is basically a fresh take on something. Every collection is so. Here's what defines a collection. It's a red thread that runs across different garments, different kind of looks, whatever else, so that the collection becomes cohesive. Now, for that collection to become cohesive, it has to have a common birthing point, and that birthing point is the point of view. So if you're talking about, let's say, my current collection is future classics, right? We've done color blocking through the collection, and our common birthing point is change. So everything else is, let's say, black, and then you have a streak of brown or a streak of pink, and that becomes the common birthing point on how new ideas take shape. So that's the theme that runs through the collection, and that's probably not a technical term, but a very widely used and understood term in fashion.
Nice. Good to know. कुछ नया सीखा आज हमने.
मैंने भी कुछ दिनों पहले.
So coming to that pocket inequality pledge you have, right? I want to know कि let's go back to the history. कि why are we here कि women don't have pockets? What's the history behind it? What's the reason behind it?
So it's a long, convoluted history, actually. When way back, everyone had pockets, because everyone had those fanny packs or external pouches in which you would keep some stuff and go about your work or whatever else. And then as time progressed, during the Industrial Revolution, and as we went on, two or three things started to happen. One, men started to go out and work, and women started to keep their role as homemakers, mostly within the confines of their home, where they didn't actually need anything to be on their person, because everything was always within reach, right? Ghar mein hi hai. And so the need for men to have concealed pockets, not like fanny packs that could be easily mugged or stolen. The need for men to have concealed pockets became real. And so, pants and jackets and everything else started to get pockets. Now, like I said, women were at home. And so, we were like, okay, maybe women don't need pockets in their homeware. But what also happened as time progressed, the Industrial Revolution was a period in time, a point in time when gender roles were more defined, and so a certain kind of apparel made sense. But through time, those roles or those paradigms have definitely shifted, right? There is no difference between a man and a woman going to work today. So ideally, we would have just followed the same train of logic for women and added sort of pockets to their garments. But in the meanwhile, what happened is there was this big fashion and accessories industry that started to sort of come into its sway, and so it was another opportunity to sell, let's say, bags to women. And so so fashion designers or apparel manufacturers along the way thought that maybe it's a really good idea to not add any pockets in women's garments and sell them bags, which I have no problem with. I love my bags, but I think my take on that is that it should be a choice and not a, not a necessity, not an imposter syndrome कि अब नहीं है pocket but I do have a bag so I love my bag.
Yeah. It feels like कि एक legacy code पड़ा हुआ है, उसको fix करने की बजाय patch लगा दो.
Precisely, exactly what has happened. Which is why I think in today's time, Pocket's pledge is it should be irrelevant. Yeah. I am sad that it is not irrelevant. My goal is to make it so irrelevant that people will not know why it was started in the first place. In the future, when everyone has pockets and we move on to bigger things and more real things, this will become irrelevant. But for now, it is not, and that's what we want to change.
Yeah, I want to talk this same phenomena कि industrial revolution आया, उसके बाद मतलब pockets बंद हो गए kind of. How was this different, let's say in India, in Europe, in US?
Yeah, I think for some reason, industrial revolution may have come at different points in different geographies, but the traditional role of men and women and how they were diversified between being at home and being at work came in different forms in different geographies. So as a result, there isn't a culture or a country where it is normal for women to have pockets, including India or the West or Japan or you name whatever. Surprisingly, the trigger points may have been different, but the end result for all of us has been the same. So yeah, I think that needs to kind of change.
Yeah, I think Indian traditional dresses, if you look, sari and even suits, they never had pockets, right?
They never have pockets.
Yeah. So somehow it is kind of established in history. You have to be a housewife.
I hope not. I hope that is not the key takeaway of this. But when I think a little bit more about this, one of the things that has come in many conversations and in many layers of research is that as a societal code, women have started to believe that our silhouette or the shape of the body is most important. And so anything that spoils that silhouette with a little bit of a bulge is starting to give us a little bit of a pause, right? Which shouldn't be so. I mean, men have pockets and have bulges all the time.
Men have this bulge as well.
Men have many bulges. And so so I think it is the societal code that has been unfairly established both in the minds of men and women. I think the mind of women is more important to change.
Yeah, I think this is the time because I think today we have highest number of women
in
industry. So I think we definitely need that change right now.
Yeah.
So apart from pockets inequality, do you in general believe in other rights for women? Would you call yourself?
Don't you?
Everyone does, but I want to know your definition of feminism.
I don't call myself a feminist. I think the tag of feminism is a little bit extremist, and it inspires more polarity than it should. Yeah. Right? I'm not a feminist. I just stand for equality. Tomorrow, if the pendulum actually swings on the other side, I will stand for you as well. Yeah. So I think I steer away from the tag of feminism. Mm-hmm. But whether it is the rights of women or any other large section of the society, the right to be yourself is a fundamental right.
Makes sense. I completely agree with it. And I'm just curious, do you see any other place, very evident, just like pockets, where you see inequality on either side?
Well, I can't say for men. I'm sure there is, but I have not had a chance to think as much about it. But there are several things that, where especially women need equality, and there is a lot of supporting data on this as well. But income equality, for instance, women earn I'm going to get this figure wrong, but but I think they earn about 0.87 to a dollar, depending on what woman you are. Latina women, actually Latina income, women income is even lower, and then blacks is even lower, or whatever else. So income inequality is real, and that's very, very evident in the society. But yeah, I mean, there are so many forms of inequality that exist, that all of us go through every single day.
Is that number coming from a particular industry or in general?
It's overall. Yeah, I think there are cuts by industry as well, but I don't think I'll recall it right now.
Okay. I'm curious about tech industry because I'm here. I don't see it typically in tech, like at least in big FANG companies. I don't see a comp difference evident, very evident. But I'm curious if there is something latent I don't know. Yeah.
I feel like I should be able to pass on a report. There is a Washington report on this. I'll try and find and pass it on to you.
So coming to next set of questions, I'm curious. You immigrated here from India, right? So how do you make yourself eligible to do a business here, coming from India?
Um, so I can only talk about my path. I came to Amazon US from Amazon India, and so I was on a L1A visa. Excuse me, L1B visa. My husband was on a L1A visa, and the only silver line of the pandemic was that the path from our visas to green card was really, really short. So we got expedited green cards, and once you have a green card, you are eligible to pursue business or any other opportunity outside of the company that you came from. And so yeah, that was relatively straightforward for us.
Makes sense. So you said path for us. Is it like easier for specific roles or how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, this is our favorite conversation in any Indian group. And I think I'm the least informed about this and not the best person to talk about it. But I'm I'm told that visas like L1 or um, O, which is the outstanding visa, whatever, they have a slightly faster path to green card, which basically is a way to be independent about your career choices. I mean, there isn't much else to green card, but it's just that it opens up a set of choices that you don't have as, let's say, an L1A employee, which in my time was called the slave visa, because you can only work for that particular company on that visa.
Oh, I see. So L1B is I think more for managerial positions.
L1A is for managerial and executive positions. L1B is a specialized skill. So, but regardless of A or B, you can only work for the company that you came with. So, yeah, hence the slave visa.
So what was your role at Amazon?
I was in marketing. I used to lead the worldwide Prime Day marketing charter.
How do you feel about leaving the job now? Do you miss it?
Um, I don't mind leaving it, but that is not to say that I didn't enjoy it. I had a really, really good time at Amazon. Um, it was the first time that I ever had the opportunity to work with more than like 25 countries at the same time. And the way it opened up my mind to two things. One, to thinking at scale. What works for, let's say, just India or just US may or may not work for the rest of the world, right? Even little things like, you know what, I had a really good example for this. I forget the word now. Anyway, it's passing my mind. But the word for revolution is not a good word in the middle, in Russia and in that whole region. It is taken with a grain of salt. It is considered to be a negative thing. But for us, revolution is such a positive, game changing thing. And so at every point in time, we had to be really cognizant of the things that we were proposing, the overall positioning that we were creating, on how it will translate across so many different people, cultures, countries, whatnot, right? And so, yeah, understanding and caring for such a wide set of perspectives was one, and the other one was thinking at scale. Like at any given point in time, one would have to think about more than 25 odd countries. And that is a mind-blowing scale. That is a skill that I did not have before I, came to Amazon and in this role. And I truly, truly appreciate that. It's the big thinking that I've borrowed from Amazon into POV. We're really small right now, but we hope to be, big enough by like Amazon standards.
We are hoping that as well. So, tell us more about what was your job. You said you had to think about 25 countries. So, I'm curious, ki, what was the job role? What were you doing? Like,
So Prime Day is Amazon's tentpole event, right? When it started, it was a shopping festival at a time when retail in general goes through a downturn, like a lull period. This typically happens in June and July. Q4 is, a lot of retail euphoria. There is festivals and Black Friday and whatnot. And in the first half of the year also, you have New Year, New You. Everyone has resolutions of a lot of things. And so retail also gets, some rub off from that. But the June and July period is a little bit of a lull. So Amazon's original intent of Prime Day was to bring Black Friday into June or July, And I think that was also their first campaign. I wasn't there for the first one. But I think first campaign for Prime Day was bring Black Friday in July. So anyway, when I joined, it had been underway for a few years. And so the next challenge was to make sure that Prime Day, which was considered a shopping festival, starts to be more than that. Because Prime has started to be more than shopping and shipping, right? There was now Prime Video, Prime Gaming, you name it. Prime has everything from shopping, shipping, entertainment to, God knows what not. But Prime Day was a very small part of that. And the other challenge when I joined was that a lot of countries were Prime entertainment first. So Prime shopping and shipping is a very operations heavy thing and all of that. And countries like Australia or many countries in the Middle East did not have the Prime shipping shopping option yet. But they did have Prime Video, they did have Prime Music, and they had a lot of other Prime entertainment products. And they were exposed to that. So for them, Prime Day meant nothing. Because Prime Day had deals on things and they had never shopped from Prime.
They were not even getting that fast delivery Prime.
Yeah, it didn't mean anything to them. So my charter was to make Prime into a cultural moment. Go beyond shopping and give it meaning that really sort of brings the identity of Prime together and presents it to the customer in a very unified way. So I started off by, of course, the staple part, the meat and potato of my job was to make sure that Prime Day was really big in terms of revenue numbers, in terms of deals, whatever else. And so whatever marketing went to support that was obviously a no-brainer. But what I'm proud of and what I actually had fun doing at Prime Day was making sure that entertainment became an integral part of Prime Day. What that meant was the first year when we introduced what was then called the Prime Day concert. We had Taylor Swift come and perform for Prime members, right? And that was a limited concert. It was not available to everyone. You could only attend it and only stream it if you were a Prime member, right? So it started off with that. The last year when I ran it for 2 or 3 years. The last year when I left, we had done a show called the Prime Day Show with Billie Eilish, Kid Cudi, and Her. Her had also won the Oscar that year. So it turned out to be really good. But this show was actually released in 200 countries where Prime Video is a thing. And so getting to, create both crossovers and synergies between shopping and entertainment was my baby at Prime Day. And of course, marketing it to to the entire world to make sure that everyone is as excited about it as we were was part of the job.
Yeah, I think, like you said earlier, idea was to make it a festival.
Yes.
Give you the festival vibes. Because in festival, people buy things.
Exactly. Pretty much. This is very simply put. Exactly that.
Okay. Yeah. That's my job. Okay. So tell us about the process of the entire POV thing. You have a recent collection came. What is that collection?
It's called Future Classics.
Future Classics. So walk us through that. How do you start? What stage do you give your things to designer? What he does and how it turns into an ad product? Walk us through the entire journey.
Wow. Do you have all night?
We have.
Okay. So, you know what? Before we talk about the journey of the collection, I'd like to talk a little bit about the journey of how I learned what goes into that collection. Because I'm not from fashion, right? I've never done fashion before this, and like I said, I've done marketing and brand. But I very quickly realized that marketing and brand will come a lot later. Right? So last year in March, sometime, I quit my job. We'd started to work on POV in January mid or whatever, and we used to meet over the weekends and do, nudge a little bit and chip away a little bit more and all of that. But in March, I was like, this is way too exciting for me. And this is all I want to do all day. So I left my then job. And then I took a little bit of a eat, pray, love journey. Went to Paris, fashion mecca, and and then I went to Bhutan for my pray and all of that. Wow. and then in earnest, we started working in June of last year. What I realized was fashion seems like a really simple thing, right? It seems like a simple, glamorous thing to do. Yeah. Which is why everyone wants to do it, which is why I wanted to do it. So I was like, okay, this is, we started in June and I was like, I will launch my first collection in August. Okay. I didn't have a manufacturer. I didn't know the first thing about it. But like I said, I'm a hustler and I have worked with Amazon. So, if you put an end date to something will get done by that date. If there is a date for Prime Day will run on that date whether I am dead or alive.
That's how corporate works.
That's how I thought my life and my business will also work. Okay. Clearly, it didn't happen. But so I started to sort of think through, first I started to find manufacturers. And if you've seen our collection, we try to do designer things, right? Designer made simple. And so, we tried some 20 manufacturers. And I realized that it's probably not going to be as simple as I thought. Because on the other side of my journey were legacy manufacturers, mostly companies run by men for many generations, who sat across the table and they were like, we can't add pockets. If you if you want to add pockets, we will add 500 rupees to the cost. Okay. I was like, it's a tiny piece of fabric, but they were like, no, cutting is extra, some story around it. And I was like, oh my God. And then we also had interesting things like bra strap holders or adjustable length pants, whatever. So they were like, all of this is too gimmicky. It is too time taking. So we will jack up your price by, 1.5 times. And I was like, I can barely afford this. 1.5 times is not going to work out. But long story short, on our journey, I had the worst June, July. Because I went to so many manufacturers and so many people and got patronized to the hilt, right? And I didn't know what I was talking about. I didn't know how easy or difficult it was. So then in July, I started to, I gave myself an ultimatum of 5 meetings. And I said, I will go to 5 meetings from today and be the stupidest person in the room, but I will ask every question and learn everything there is to learn about this. So all of July, I met with, I don't know, um, tens, 20, I don't know how many manufacturers. During the day, I would go for fabric and manufacturing. During the night, I would informally put myself through fashion school, right? So I knew what the fuck I was talking about.
Makes sense.
Excuse my French. Uh, anyway, so that was a little bit of of my learning journey. But from a collection perspective, here is how it works. Um, you start to think of a big idea, the point of view or the theme or whatever else, right? What do you want this collection to stand for or convey? Hmm. This one, like I said, is called Future Classics. I wanted this to convey positive change. How change starts in a small way, but then it becomes the norm. Now no one bats an eyelid at women working. At one point in time, it was such a big deal at how's the woman going to work or whatever else. Any other kind of change also starts like a revolutionary thought, but then it becomes the norm.
Yeah.
So I wanted our collection to reflect that. And we call it Future Classics because, everyone thinks that classics in your wardrobe should be a particular kind,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily that.
Pastel single colors.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
exactly. Boring.
Yeah.
I have one word for that. Everyone thinks classics should be boring.
Yeah.
But we want to change that with our recent collection. So you start with the theme, and then you work on what are some of the basic functionalities that you definitely want your theme to embody. So you want it to be breathable, you want it to be stretchable, you want it to have comfort, whatever else, you name it. So then you have those as the starting or guiding principles of your theme. And then you come to what is called silhouettes. So broadly, what are the kind of silhouettes that you will address? We really like power suits, especially in today's time, given that, strong women are,
What is a power suit?
like a suit that women can wear. Women can wear and feel powerful and not feel like it has been borrowed from the boys.
CEO kind of vibes.
CEO vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether you're the CEO or in a big meeting with the CEO, you can wear that suit, right?
Is your dress part of that collection?
With this one, this is not a suit, it's a dress. But a power suit is generally a pant and a jacket.
Yeah, I mean, is it part of Future Classics collection?
This is part of so you see this little bit of
I was going there again and again on that subtle.
yeah.
What should I call it in technical terms?
It's just a color block.
Yeah.
It is the introduction of a new color in what otherwise is a pink.
That subtle hint of white color is actually setting this dress very different from all other normal dresses.
I agree.
It's making it look super cool. It's looking it fashionable, and I think we don't realize that such subtle things make a lot of impact. I mean, this dress is looking a very different dress all of a sudden, and I know you have put a lot of thought in terms of functionality, comfort, and all those kind of things, right? So I really loved this piece of dress. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, going back to what you were saying.
So then we figure out what is our silhouette, and this time the defining feature of our silhouette was the power suit. We wanted a pant and a jacket separate to give women that powerful feeling and all of that. And of course, it was a little bit inspired by what's happening in the country, where powerful women are
Kamala Harris is running for the president.
yes. And so anyway, that was that. And then you start to put that's where the rubber hits the ground, right? Once you have your silhouettes ready, you start to put designs together, and then those designs go into sampling, and then the samples are reviewed and then iterated on. I'll show you a really technical thing. I don't know if you can see, but this is a sample, right? This was our first sample when we designed it, and I don't know if you can see, but there's a seam over here. You can see a seam. This is a bug.
Oh, I see.
right?
I see.
This seam should not be visible.
Yeah.
Correct? And so when you receive the sample, you wear it for a day and you see how how it moves, how it feels. Does it support all the functionality dreams that we had? And then you give final feedback to go ahead for production. So that's the journey of a design or a collection. And then of course when it launches, you have a whole go to market.
Yeah. So coming back to samples, your manufacturer is in India, right? So how long does it take to receive a sample?
Long time. And I don't know if you remember, but I ask for people coming from India every 2 weeks on every group. I've asked on every group, I ask on Instagram, I ask everyone I know, if you're coming from Delhi to Seattle, please give me a heads up. I will definitely need something from India. So, but then I also have a designer back in India who basically does most of this. So everything doesn't have to come to me. She's great, and she's basically the owner of the design and the sample and all of that. So it's not that bad.
Yeah. So you said you had a lot of trouble finding manufacturer,
Yes.
and also since you are just starting, you might not be ordering so many pieces.
Yes.
So how do you find a manufacturer who is okay with that and still okay with this customizations at a reasonable price? So what's the process of that? I mean,
There's no process. You have to throw things at the wall until you find this, until the universe takes pity on you and sends you this amazing small business who is willing to, stick with your mad ideas and try everything. I think we just got really, really lucky. Yeah.
would you say that was the hardest part of the entire journey?
Definitely was. I mean, now I would say it's selling, but but pre-launch definitely.
Pre-launch. I see. You're selling, though everyone knows it's yeah. But I can say by the look of it, the design looks awesome.
Thank you. Please tell your girlfriends.
Help me. Not down.
I will I will take this offline.
Okay. So, what about the cloth? Manufacturer buys the cloth, or you buy the cloth and get it delivered to them?
So the manufacturer is an integrated manufacturer. In fact, I'd like to spend like a few minutes on fabric, because as much attention and importance is given to the design, at the back end, fabric is everything, right? Any design only comes to life with the right fabric, and I learned this the hard way, because fabric is the most technical part of fashion. There are threads that go vertically and horizontally, and if you change the composition of even one thread, the entire fabric changes. So your entire design changes based on that fabric. And so between my designer and me and Sakina, my partner, we spent a really, really large amount of time on figuring out what fabric do we want, because we wanted our fabric to be a lot of things, right? We wanted it to be the unicorn. I mean, even now we want it to be so many things, but now that we're in that mode where we bias for action, we found a really good set of fabric and we're sticking to it. But when we started, we wanted it to be machine washable, because obviously women have better places to be than the dry cleaners.
This is machine washing.
Everything is machine washable. Most things that POV makes, except for a few jackets, are machine washable, because A, time, and B, cost of dry clean in the US is through the roof. So we wanted it to be machine washable. We wanted it to be a little bit stretchable, which is our women friends will agree, which is really important. Women go through so many body changes in the day, in the month, in the year, that sometimes we have trouble recognizing who the hell was that bought for. Right? So we need it to be a little bit breathable, because we spend so many hours at work. And so it needs to be versatile. It needs to let us breathe. We needed it to be machine washable, stretchable. We obviously needed it to be couture and designer and, look really, really good. So we went on every designer's website and, on the detail page, went through the product specifications to figure out what fabric do big designers use, right? And it turned out to be a fabric called crepe, which is this fabric. Yeah. So we did that, and then of course, a bunch of technical things like it should not lose color, it should be good for years to come. These are all investment pieces, and so it should be good for multiple washes, at least 20-25 washes, things like that. And so with all of these, of course, the other thing that we wanted was some kind of wrinkle resistibility, right? If you go through the day, you don't want to look like you've emerged from a pot at the end of the day. So all of these things were really difficult to get in fabric, but we found a set of fabrics that we are now good with.
It sounds like I want this in my partner.
Yes.
But we found 80%.
Pretty much. As Seema auntie says, settle to karna hi padta hai.
Settle to karni padti. Okay.
So yeah, pretty much. So we selected the fabric. We found really good suppliers for it, and it's a three-way workout. So the manufacturer actually works with our supplier, but we spent time in figuring out the fabric and the supplier for them.
And then who takes care of the deliveries?
FedEx. We have a project manager. After the production is done, there is a step called QC, quality check. After the QC, it's handed over to the exporter. And
finding all of them people, like I had to find editor for my podcast. Even that was very difficult.
it is really difficult, which is why I don't want to let anyone go. I'm like, ab mil gaye ho to bas. You are stuck with me for life.
And you want to grow together.
Yes, that's the whole point.
Okay, briefly coming to the hard part now.
Oh shit, I thought this was the hard part.
No, in your business you said that selling is the main point, right? Which is the hardest part. Now, at least for the business. So, how much is your marketing spend?
Oh my god.
How do you plan that?
So frankly, we have not done a lot of marketing at this point. What we've done in the last 6 months is gotten really good with product market fit. And the way we've achieved that is through, direct selling. We've done a lot of trunk shows and pop-ups, basically creating avenues for us to meet our customers firsthand. We started to do a little bit of, social advertising, meta advertising and all of that. And of course, it has its own gives and takes, in terms of return on ad spend, customer acquisition cost and all of that. But what we realized was that we didn't know who was buying our stuff, right? So we had no eyes on who is it who's resonating with our design language, our story, or whatever else, right? So currently our marketing has mainly been trunk shows and meeting people wherever we can. So that's one thing. The other thing that we are now doing in a big way is B2B partnerships. And we got really, really lucky with with our partner Armoire, which is a rental company in Seattle. We were on Armoire within 2 weeks of our launch. And that's a story that I would love to tell, by the way. So that's that. Marketing spend is basically a function of how much revenue we want to get from it, right? We try to keep our ROAS, which is return on ad spend, between 1.5 to 2.5. So whatever we are spending, we want to get at least a 1.5 return on it. From the get-go, between my partner and I, we've had clarity that we will not sell any piece at a loss, at a unit loss. Right? There is obviously overall investment of the business that initially shows up as loss, But we've decided that we will not sell any piece for less than the cost that it was made for.
Makes sense. Yeah. So whatever this, I to can't even pronounce the name.
Which one?
The guy you collaborated with,
Armoire?
Armoire. Yeah. So what do they do?
They are a rental service. So they basically have a, and I'm probably going to butcher their model, so please don't hold me to it. But they have a really large assortment of clothes from different brands in different sizes. And, they have subscription model of every month you can rent whatever, n number of clothes from them for your regular life. So if you're going to work or if you have an event or whatever else. How that helps us is that it helps us get a lot of eyes on POV, right? A lot of trials without the commitment of buying. We're a new brand, right? It takes a lot for people to buy and try a new brand if you don't know the founders personally or whatever else. But when it is part of a subscription, when it is part of a repertoire that you anyway are getting, then,
Give some credibility, build some trust.
it gives some credibility, it lowers the barrier to trial, and it gives you really, really good and honest feedback. So every time something of POV is rented out through Armoire, we get specific feedback on it. So we get ratings, we get reviews, whatever else, which is a great thing.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So do they buy or do they also rent from you guys?
No, they buy it. That's the good thing.
Okay.
That's a good thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So you said there is a story behind it, like lending them was not easy.
No, it was. It is the story of hustle, and I really want to tell it because every time I bring it up, or every time we tell the story of POV and all of that, especially on social media, it is only the highlights. Right?
That's why podcasts are there.
Basically. So with Armoire, this is what happened. For some reason, we're all limited by our dreams, right? Or we not limited by our dreams. We all always achieve what we dream for. The sad part is that all of us dream small.
Oh my God.
So anyway, that's a separate story. But when we started POV, we were like, you know what? These will be our distribution channels. We will sell through social. We will sell through rental sites like Armoire and several other channels. And for some reason, in the PRFAQ that I wrote for myself, I had a distribution channel listed as rental sites, and as an example, there was Armoire.
Okay.
So when we launched, I wrote to the CEO of Armoire because I thought it's going to be really simple. So I wrote to her, and now she's a good friend now, and now I totally understand what happened and how it happened. But back then I was like, why is she not responding? Because I have like 10,000 emails in my inbox that I intend to respond to, but I have not responded yet. So I totally get how busy she must have been. So I wrote to her, no response. She actually responded once on Instagram, but then it just got lost on, in messages or whatever else. So then I wrote to their chief merchandise officer. I wrote to their entire C-suite. And and obviously no response, or very lagged response or whatever. This was also, imagine, this is a random brand writing to the CXOs saying, we have no track record, but can you please buy stuff from us? So I understand the gravity of the situation and the outrageousness of my request. Anyway, so we launched on 11th February, and on March 1st or 2nd was their Women's Day event, which was basically a marketplace. And I saw it on Eventbrite, and I was like, we should pop up here. So I wrote to whoever I thought was the event organizer, which was not the event organizer later on. And I said, we want to pop up. They were like, dude, the event is in 4-5 days. We've sold out all the slots, come next year. And I was like, I don't know if we will be around till next year. So I'm going to come this year. Anyway, the event was on Saturday. Uh, and on Thursday, they had another event at their then showroom, right? So I just took my car and I went to that event. I did not have an invite. I did not know where I was going, what was the event all about. But I went to the door and they asked me for the invite. And I was like, I don't have it, but I'm here. So you can either send me away or you can let me in, right? And I may have looked really pathetic because they did let me in.
Wow.
They were like, if we don't, she will cry. so so that I got in and whatever. It was some kind of a show, whatever. And I started to chat with whoever was there from Armoire. This is a really, really nice person called Annie. And I spoke to her and I was like, we have a brand, blah, blah. She was like, okay. So then in my car, I had a lookbook, which is basically a book, a catalog of all our looks.
Okay.
I didn't even have a proper lookbook because it was a sample. It was not stapled.
I see.
It was pages.
Mm.
And because it was a sample, it didn't have the right cutting. Basically, it was just pages with our
Not
photos.
organized, yeah.
Huh. And so I was like, look, I've been trying to get in touch with, with folks at Armoire. If you don't mind, will you just hand over the lookbook to your CEO?
Oh, wow.
Huh. And Annie, I think, is a really sweet person. She didn't want to say no. So she said, okay. And I gave her this rag, this manuscript. I don't know what the hell it was. I was embarrassed as hell, but I was like, well, this is my only option.
Yeah.
So I gave it to her. And then I was like, can we please pop up at your Women's Day event, which was one day later. This was Thursday evening. The event was Saturday morning. I was like, can we please pop up? I think there's something about Seattle, very, very supportive people, extremely supportive people. And so Annie was like, we're sold out. Our space is sold out, but we can give you a 4x4 space.
Okay, yeah.
And I was like, I'll take it.
Yeah.
If I startup founder,
No,
I will
no.
take whatever. If I get space for one person to stand, I will be the bloody billboard and stand. So I was like, 4x4 to bahut. It's a lot of space.
Yeah.
Sorry. So anyway, so okay. Now that we have a space, we were like, where are our clothes? We didn't have racks to keep our clothes.
Yeah.
We didn't have racks. We didn't have what is called a standee. So there was no place where we had POV written.
Okay.
I came back at like 11 in the night on Thursday. And like I said, the universe conspires to give you what you want. So be careful of what you set your heart on. Anyway, early morning, I'm like, I don't have a standee. I need a standee. At least naam to kahin to dikhna chahiye na.
Yeah.
So for some reason, this friend of mine, she called me at 9 a.m. in the morning. She's like, what are you doing? So I was like, I have to do this. She was like, you know what? I'll get a standee made for you. I'm like, why? How? Why? Like, where have you come from? And so she was like, isme kya hai? I'll go to FedEx and we'll try, we'll get you a standee. So I was like, okay. Then we quickly created the standee, the artwork of the standee, and I sent it to her. And in general, a rush order is $500. I don't know what magic this is Rajvi, by the way.
Okay.
What magic she did. Somehow she got the FedEx guy to agree that he will give me the standee in non-rush order because the standee will be delivered on Saturday morning at 8 a.m.
Okay.
Our event was at 9.
Oh.
So she was like, I'll pick up the standee and come. And then we ordered racks and hangers and everything else on Amazon. It came in like one day. I know this is a really long story, but all I'm saying is that event was our first successful event. That was the first time we felt like what we had created was not a figment of our imagination and not bullshit.
It's actually happening.
It's actually happening. And that event was really successful for us. We had got a 4x4 ka slot. But by the time the event opened and progressed, we had so many people come to our place that we expanded from a 4x4 into a 10x10,
Oh wow.
because everyone just kept coming, and everyone was trying everything, and so we started to like
Yeah.
fellow a little bit, and we were under the stairs.
Oh.
So my husband and Sakina's husband, Sakina was not in town on that day, so Vishnu and M were standing under the stairs.
Okay.
And every time that someone asked for a style, you know how in India, when you go to buy shoes, someone says, "Are give me number 8 or number 7 or whatever."
वो छोटू होता है ना ऊपर.
Basically, that was exactly the setup. I would, call out to my husband that we need a Prodigy. That's the name of our, one of our styles. We need a Prodigy medium, and then they would like scourge through all of that and give us, that size. But that was a really, really successful event. That was where we got our first TV opportunity.
Oh nice.
And yeah, but it doesn't fall on anyone's lap, is the whole point. Yeah. Okay.
Standee is like a billboard, right?
Yeah, it's a poster, but it's made on flex, and it's a pull-out poster. It has a mechanism. It has a base and stuff.
Okay. You were saying something?
I was saying sorry. It was a really long story.
No, this was so interesting, I would say. Yeah. I think यहाँ पे actual hustle mode दिखा कि without invite चले जाओ यार, जो पहली opportunity मिल रही है just grab it. I mean that's your survival mode is there as a startup, right? And उसके बिना you can't grow in such a competitive world.
Yeah.
Totally agree. I think very inspiring for everyone, the whole story. And that's why you wanted to tell it.
I really wanted to tell this story. I really wanted it because everyone thinks that it has come kind of easy.
Yeah.
And I also think it has come easy for other people. I'm sure everyone has a story of their struggle, their hustle, whatever.
Yeah. So Armoire ने final opportunity फिर उस event के बाद दी based on that event.
Yeah. We got a chance to sell a lot at that event. And the good thing was that that event had a lot of Armoire customers.
Oh.
So based on that event, I then wrote an email to
Amazing.
Ambika, who's the CEO, and I said, your customers have loved these styles. They have bought these styles, and they are now our customers. So it will be useful for you to have these styles on your platform.
Makes sense. I think yes, super inspiring story यार. बहुत कुछ सीखा मैंने fashion industry के बारे में. ठीक है, अब थोड़े से gears हम change करेंगे. Now let's talk about the relationships as part of startup journey, because there are professional relationships. You work with your co-founder, and I have heard that like any other relationship, you will definitely have disagreements, arguments, fights, right? And then you have relationship with your family. That has to be handled differently when you are doing a startup because you have lesser time. Those expectations, communications has to be very clear. Everyone has to accept the fact, okay, now we are on a different journey. So बारी बारी से आते हैं, दोनों के ऊपर आते हैं.
एक और है, I'll add to that. There is of course the co-founder and the partner, but there are new relationships that you form that are game changing when you're on a startup journey, and I would love to talk about those as well.
Okay. I'm curious, which relationships?
I mean, for me, it is this lady that I have now started to consider as my guardian angel. But I think we'll come to it.
Okay.
But all I'm saying is that every relationship evolves, and the new ones that you form during this journey are really pivotal. So we should touch on that.
I see. So let's start with your relationship with your co-founder. How did you even decide कि यार this is a good co-founder?
Good question. Finding a co-founder is exactly like getting married.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly. And, Sakina and my dating period was really short. We thought that we had dated enough, but little did we realize that we had basically dated for like 2 or 3 months before we decided to become co-founders. And so it was a very interesting journey. My personality trait is that I commit to things publicly so that I do it. So before we had even started, before our company was even a thing, I would go to parties and declare that I'm going to start a business. I had not left my job. I had no idea what that business would be. But my idea of small talk was starting a company. So I remember 2022, some Diwali party where we were all sitting and Sakina and I were having a one-on-one conversation, and I think we were talking about the weather, and then she asked me, "So what's up?" And I was like, "I'm starting a company." Big lies. So anyway, so she was like, "Okay, what is it?" And I started to make it up as I went along. Yeah, I was totally improvising through the conversation. Yeah, this is this workwear company. It will have pockets. This is the idea. Blah blah blah. So she was like, "Yeah, right." I was like, "Okay." And then, much like any other date, I was like, "This date is over. This conversation will go to rest." But Sakina being Sakina, this was sometime in November. On January 1st, the first message that I received before Happy New Year from anyone was Sakina messaging, "If you ever open your business really, then I will partner with you on it." And that was such a important message in my life. That was the first. I have a lot of respect for who Sakina is, b everything that she embodies and whatnot. And so when I read that message, I was like, if someone who I actually look up to and have a lot of respect for is ready to partner with me and invest her time in my business, there must be something to it. And so I was like, okay, let's do this together. So then we started to sort of work on it together. But then, like I said, dating and marriage are two different things. Over time and all of that, our relationship has also evolved. We were friends to begin with, but at a very social level. So we knew what the other one did and what were their jobs and a little bit of their social persona. But through various ups, downs, discussions, disagreements, wins and losses, we've started to sort of discover a lot more of each other. And one of the things that we really enjoy is we mostly talk about work, sadly, because she has a job, and so the little time that we get together, we mostly talk about work. But then we have flights, time on flights, or time during travel from one place to another, when we go on what we call speed dating. uh, and it plays out like this. We literally ask each other random questions. Who is your favorite person in the world? Or what would you do if you had infinite money? Or like very first date questions. We actually ask those questions to each other and get surprised by each other's answers and all of that. So yeah, that's what
Is that just a fun activity, or does that help?
I don't know. I'm sure it helps because it helps us understand each other a little bit more as people. We have very different approaches both to life and to business. We're very different people, and sometimes it's also um, it adds to sometimes discontent in our relationship. Business decisions are not the same for both of us at any given point in time, but I think these conversations really help to understand and get to know each other better, so we can read each other and what their origin story is, and know better how they will react or approach certain things.
Do you think the friendship you had initially to begin with has completely dissolved into business partnership?
uh, it has morphed for sure. um, it's a different kind of friendship now.
Okay.
Like I said, we're definitely far closer, uh, but we really don't have the time anymore to just sit and like gossip, which I would love to do with her. She's a very entertaining, fun person, but all we do is like talk about work. And so we have this little ritual. She has a hot tub in her home. We have a little ritual that the only place where we don't talk about work, because we can't take our phones or our laptop, is the hot.
Hmm. I think that is very important. You are still doing it with friends. A lot of people do it with their partners. So, yeah, the boundaries sometimes become blurred. So, unless you can maintain that balance of strong friendship and strong business partnership, you have to come to that balance again and again. Otherwise, it becomes very difficult.
Yeah, I feel like it's I don't know if it is about balance. I feel like I like to call it uh, work life jenga.
Okay.
This is jenga. You cannot balance these two. It's so delicate that what you think is professional has so many ramifications on your personal life,
Yeah.
that how can you ever compartmentalize and say this is all professional and this is what our friendship is?
Yeah.
It's all interseamed in each other. And so every time you're moving one part of either your professional or your personal life, it's like a jenga. The whole thing can affect everything else.
It's very deeply interconnected.
Extremely.
So how does that your partnership work with her? You are doing it full time. She's not doing
Yeah.
full time. So how did you come up with equity splits and those kind of discussions?
Well, yeah, it's an evolving discussion, frankly. When we started, we were both not doing it full time. So, depending, I mean, there are several models available in the market, and I'm a very model person. So, typically, equity or, the time commitment or whatever else is based on several things. What is the risk you're taking? What is the capital you're infusing? What is the time that you're investing in this? Primary idea, and different kind of what work streams are you handling? So there are ways to come at a scientific evaluation of how equity should be split between the both of us. So we've also sort of employed those models, and we had a initial equity split. And like I said, it's an evolving discussion. The core of this discussion is that we're both owners of POV, right? And so we will make sure that as our child, POV should be a going concern. It should be successful, and whatever it takes to make POV successful is the decision we take. We try to, so far as possible, alienate ourselves, our personal selves, from that discussion. For instance, a very simple thing is that um, I really like design, and I'm the creative head of POV. And, in some way, I would have felt really great if I had designed all the collections, right? But Sakina and I sat down and we were like, while we think that we have, the skill for design and all of that, we are not designers. So we don't really know how to make tech packs, which is the technical part of design, or even flat sketches. And so between the two of us, our most expensive resource from a startup perspective is our designer. But we decided to invest in her because it is not about the two of us serving our vanity of becoming the designer, right? So we try to go back to first principles and make sure that any any decision related to the business is first and foremost for the benefit of the business, and not for the two of us personally.
So what are these models? Let's say if I'm starting a business with someone, where I can read about them? How can I go about it?
Many places. Thankfully, this is a resource that is available in many forms. I think the one of the most simply put and most exhaustive starting points is the Y Combinator website.
Okay.
It has a series of courses. I think it's called the Startup School. So it has modules and courses on any topic that you can think of.
That I have watched their video.
So that's one. And then there are courses on entrepreneurship, especially MIT Sloan and I forget if it's Stanford or Wharton. One of the two has really good courses on entrepreneurship that you can take on demand, right? Learning a little bit of, with examples of how other people dealt with it
Yeah.
is very useful as a mental model.
Exactly.
I have to say though, it's a one-on-one journey. You can take many courses and you can learn from other people's experiences and all of that, but eventually it is between the two of you, like in a marriage.
Yeah.
It's between the two of you on what your equation is, what are the tangibles and the intangibles that are exchanged between the two of you. Yeah.
Give us examples of few instances where one of you were completely broken as a co-founder in terms of like hope or where everything is going, like something is not working out. Because I think that kind of emotional support is very important in this journey. Do you have any?
Oh, many, every day.
Okay.
um, I'm trying to think which one should we pick. Yeah. So, very recent example. We did a little bit of, we dabbled a little bit with marketing, and honestly, that didn't go so well with us, right? Because social media customer acquisition costs were through the roof, right? And so we sort of reconvened and we said we will have a really good mix of D2C and B2B partnerships. So we started to focus a lot more on B2B partnerships. It's a larger ticket, more stable, reliable form of income for any business, right? So in the fashion industry, there's a role called the sales rep, right? Sales rep are people that take your entire line and go to either boutiques or big retailers or whatever else and present it and get orders, correct? Now those orders are obviously very big and valuable. So obviously sales reps are also valuable people. Given that neither of us are from the fashion industry, we don't know any sales reps. Hmm. And somehow a friend of ours was very kind. I have to tell, this is the third kind of relationship. A friend of ours was very kind and she connected us through to a sales rep. So we had a taste of a sales rep, and that had worked out really well for us. But she is localized to Oregon and Washington. Now, in our line, we really wanted to, break into the LA and the East Coast audience. So, Sakina and I decided to go to LA to find a sales rep. And this is the brief. We had no contacts. We didn't even know who we were going to meet. But both of us packed 2 suitcases full of our samples, big ones, okay? Big suitcases full of our samples, and we took a flight, went to LA, and we had heard from someone that there are 2 buildings called the Cooper Building and the Newmart Building where sales reps live.
Okay.
We had no idea who these sales reps were.
Residences.
No, as in, they have their showrooms or whatever
Okay,
else.
offices. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were like, okay, how difficult will it be? We just have to find a sales rep. They obviously want us because, they will get commissions.
Yeah.
Much like everything else, we couldn't have been more wrong. So we got up early in the morning and left home at 7 a.m. Reached the Newmart building at 8 a.m. And entered, and the doorman asked us, who do you want to meet? We were like, we don't know any names.
Yeah.
So we, from the corner of our eye, we saw some name. The first name that we saw, we were like, that person. So the doorman was a little suspect, but he was like, the two girls with a suitcase, what will they do? So they were like, okay, go. It was a 14-story building. And we started at the 14th story. We went from every single door.
Oh.
We knocked on every single door with our suitcase.
Wow.
And I didn't even know what to say, right?
Yeah.
I've never met a person called a sales rep. So I don't know what to say to her. The first one was basically I went and gave a full spiel of our brand and our pockets pledge and blah blah, and she was looking at me with blank eyes. And I was like, why are you not getting impressed? This is such a great story. And then eventually she's like, but hey, we're a brand ourselves. How can you sell a brand to a brand?
Yeah.
That's when I realized that there are multiple kinds of sales. Like it was me going to Calvin Klein and saying, can you please sell POV? As random as that. So anyway, so then we knocked on every single door, and 2 full buildings of 14 floors. Every floor had some 10, 12, I don't know, whatever, n number of sales reps. We spent 9 a.m. through till 4 or 5 p.m. going through every sales rep. And we were evolving or, improvising our pitch from one door to another.
Yeah.
Because we were learning what to say.
Yeah.
As we were going. So sometimes we would just knock, we would enter, and then, people would be like, shoo. And we're like, it's cool, it's cool. So we had to pick our, self-respect back up, go to the next one and try and be as, enthusiastic.
Exactly.
Yeah, our initial starting problem, how you said, how will we have the same enthusiasm?
Exactly. It's very hard.
I don't know how we did it. But, so at the end of 2 days, at the end of our LA trip, we had been able to show our samples, to one person. Because no one else even wanted to see the samples, let alone say yes or no after seeing the samples. No one else was seeing the samples. So we were exchanging things like, we have a line, blah, blah, blah. And all they would say is, we are full.
Oh.
And so we were like, okay, thank you. And then go. So after those 2 days in LA, I was down in the dumps. Because we had made this trip all the way from Seattle to LA.
Yeah.
And we thought that we will make a really big breakthrough. And at the end of the trip, we had nothing to show to ourselves, and so anyway, I mean, we tried to pick each other up and all of that, and whatever. Then we came back here, and that's when it hit me that this is my full-time job.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what am I going to do next on POV in this business, because our big frontier was going to be sales reps, right? And if we don't have a next step on that, if we don't have an opening, then I didn't know where else to go to even knock on a door.
It must be feeling a bit hopeless, I guess. Yeah.
Extremely hopeless. And so I was like, well, Sakina, I don't know what is our next strategy. So she has a very calming presence. So she said, okay, let's take a couple of days, and and then we'll figure out how you still feel after a couple of days, and if we are able to come up with another route where it will make sense for us to take POV and scale it and all of that. And I was like, okay. So thankfully things turned around in those 2 days. And I don't know if you went through this, but when we were in college and we would get a lot of job rejections, my mom used to say that you don't need 10 jobs. You just need one job. So you only need one acceptance.
That's what they say for life partner as well.
Exactly. so so thankfully, the one lady that we showed our samples to, that one lady has said yes
Oh wow.
to our to carrying our line
Wow.
and to keeping it in her store, and she's a really big sales rep. Touch wood. It's still in the works, so I don't want to overstep my expectations, but yeah, those 2 days were a big pause, were the most hopeless moment in my POV life, because we were like, this is not going anywhere.
I would consider it a big win, because imagine that you had gone to 10 people and then one selected, and one out of one means that the product is really good. You had one shot, you got it. I mean, that's a big win for the kind of thing you are building. Yeah, for the product, it's a big.
That's a really good way to look at it. I
Yeah.
wish I had looked at it that way.
Yeah. I mean, just think about it. Other people might be busy with other brands, or they might be busy with a lot of things. But the conversion rate is huge, man. This is amazing. I think this is a really good indicator that you are in the right direction, I would say.
Thank you. I need that today.
Yeah. So, wow, what a story. Lot of hustling, man. I think this episode is going really inspirational in terms of hustling you have shown towards your startup. I mean, that's great. Amazing.
Thank you.
Let's come back to the second relationship. With your partner. So Aditi's husband's name is M. She can tell the story behind it, why it's M.
We were just we used to be on last name basis.
Okay.
His name is Saurabh Malhotra, and so I used to call him Malhotra in college, and he used to call me Sinha. But then after we got married, I was like, there's so much time getting wasted in saying Malhotra and then the argument. I was like, let's cut the address short and really get to the crux of the matter. So we started to call him M, and now everyone calls him M.
So how did you guys meet?
In the B school.
B school, here in US or back in India?
Back in India. I went to Indian School of Business in Hyderabad.
Oh, nice. ISB Hyderabad. So both of you moved to US at same time or one after other?
Same time.
Okay.
Yeah. Both of us moved from Amazon. It just worked out really, really well.
So were you married before you moved?
Yeah, I've been married for 10 years. This is my 10th year of marriage.
Congratulations. When is your anniversary?
November 29th.
Noted.
Thank you. Please remind my husband.
I'll send this video to him personally.
Take care.
Yeah, so tell us about it. Like, everyone wants the meetup gossips. How did you guys?
Oh my god, I have the most boring love story ever.
Most boring? How is it boring?
I mean, it's such a boy meets girl story, and really, I would prefer to talk about other stories.
Just met in class.
We met in class, we were in the same study group, and you know how opposites attract? I think that worked in our favor. I'm really talkative and extroverted, and he's not.
That I've seen.
So it worked out really well. I was like, well, here's a guy who will listen to me for the rest of my life. So let's go with him.
He's still pursuing his full-time job?
He is, yes. One of us has to run our household. Excuse me.
So, what is his role?
He is Director Product Management for Albertsons, which is the parent company for Safeway and a bunch of others. Please don't ask me more than this. I do not know anything.
Okay. So tell us, how was his reaction when he came to know, okay, you're going to leave the job and do this?
In some way, so here's what we call M in our POV world. He's the Chief Motivation Officer for POV. It's mad how he thinks this is $1 billion idea. Even I don't think it is. But M thinks that it is $1 billion idea. And so when I told him I really wanted to do it, he was the happiest person, and he pushed me to actually do it. Wow. Here's why. Because I come from a service family. My parents are doctors. My family is bankers, IAS, whatever, like people who've been in jobs all along. My mom to this day asks me, so when will you get a job? I was like, Mummy, I just created a few jobs, but that's not significant.
Same for me. The background of family which I am coming from.
Yeah. Yeah. So my side of the family is really supportive, but they don't understand this. He comes from a business family, right? And before ISB, he was also an entrepreneur. He had a restaurant of his own in in Bangalore and whatever, all of that. And before that, he was an investment banker. So it's been a journey. He had to leave his entrepreneurial journey, and now he's an MBA and doing a job. But he truly is a founder or an entrepreneurial spirit at heart. So every time that I tell him this is not working out, he's like, no, everything is working out. Everyone loves your products. It fits so great. I'm like, how do you know? Like, what is your credibility in saying any of this? But yeah,
But I think it's very lucky of you to have such a partner.
I agree. Touch wood. Knock on wood.
Yeah.
कहीं तो होगा यार कहीं तो अंदर वुड होगा ही जरूर थैंक यू
Okay. So, did you have a goal for yourself before leaving the job? यार इतनी savings के बाद job छोड़नी है या नहीं, ऐसा कुछ नहीं था. It was flow के साथ हो गया. So, how has your relationship changed with M after you started entrepreneurship? Like, are you getting less time? Is that improved in some ways? Is it detrimental in some ways? How does that affect your married life?
Yeah, it's a tightrope walk. Where I am right now is that I don't know how I will survive this without M. Right? He's my anchor, and he's the wind beneath my wings, or whatever it's called. But more importantly, I feel like we were going through a rough patch before POV started, and it's regular, and I think it should be normalized for people to know that every relationship has ups and downs and rough patches, especially marriage. So so I probably it was my job or whatever else that was playing on my mind, and it was coming out on M or whatever else. And so we had started to become independent and sort of involved in our own worlds a little bit. But POV really got us together. I know that the general expectation or general behavior is that startup takes away time from the family. In my case, it was the opposite. Because I didn't have a job to go to or an office to go to, and I was permanently working from home, I started to spend far more time with them, right? And Sophie, my dog daughter. And now our relationship is far stronger because I have started to acknowledge that I couldn't have done this without him. Every time that I'm down in the dumps, which is a lot, by the way.
I can imagine.
A lot, sometimes twice in a day. But M sort of brings me back on track. He makes sure that we're comfortable in both financially and emotionally. He's the more stable of the two of us. And so I totally lean on him for everything that needs balancing, that needs support, that, like that. Yeah.
Do you think it's a common trait for people who are in general like less talkative and calm? Like they're actually calm in lives as well, like in terms of their emotions. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I've never been that, so I don't know. It's possible.
Okay.
I don't know. I think, I don't think I have a point of view on that.
So, talking about calmness, you said that you went to Bhutan.
Yes.
For praying.
Yeah, not for praying really. I just like to put it in context because I'd say it's my eat, pray, love journey. But I went to Bhutan and I had a very interesting experience. Um, we went to Bhutan and we had gone on a tour, right? And so the guide said, "I will pick you up tomorrow morning at 10:30 or 11." And I had just gone from like a corporate American job, right? So I was like, "Why 10:30? We will be ready at 8."
Okay.
So he was like, "Okay, be ready, but I will pick you up at 10:30 only." I was like, "Why? Like why waste the 2.5 hours in the morning?" He was like, "Can you chill a little bit? What will you do? Where the hell will you go at 8 a.m.?" And that's when I realized why, Bhutan is considered the happiest country on earth. And that's when I realized they're not in a hurry at all. Like this whole idea of hustle, this whole idea of packing things in is not part of their mental model. So he was like, "I will pick you up at 10:30 and we will do one thing in a day. So if you want to go at 8, I will pick you up at 8, but we will still do just one thing in a day. So, you pick." And that was very different.
Was it actually a spiritual kind of tour or it's just a normal tour?
No. It was quite spiritual in the sense that, Bhutan is known for its monasteries and all of that. So we spent a lot. There's not a lot to do in Bhutan.
Okay.
There's a lot to be in Bhutan. So, like I said, in a day, we would just do, let's say, one monastery. And so we got to spend a lot of time in that monastery talking to monks, just, assimilating the energy. So it turned out to be a spiritual trip, but it wasn't intended to be that.
What does a monastery look like? I've never been.
It's you must have seen in photos.
I've seen that they have good architecture.
Yeah.
Do they really have those like
They have a really
fancy
good.
architectures?
They have a very typical architecture. I think the two things that hit me about monasteries were the open spaces as part of the architecture. So, even if it's a building, there will be, let's say, in the center or as part of the monastery, a lot of open space so that you can feel one with, the air, the nature, whatever else. And then, the building itself has rooms for studying. So, you could actually walk into any of the rooms with books or, they have classes and places of worship as part of the monastery.
Any interesting conversations you had with monks?
Uh, you know what? Well, the monks' conversations were really nice, and insightful. But my favorite experience in Bhutan was was on a hike called the Tiger's Nest. It's supposed to be one of the more difficult hikes, right? And my mom is 64 years old now, right? So you should look it up. When you stand at the base, you see a really small speck of a monastery up on the mountain. And that's the Tiger's Nest. That is where you have to trek and go, right? And so I thought, I've come from Seattle. Hike. How hard can a hike be? Hiking is in my blood now. And so I convinced my mom to come on that hike with me. What I did not realize was that hike was basically two mountains. There was no way to go straight to the mountain that had the monastery. It had to go up one mountain, go down it, and then go up another one.
Oh, wow.
Right? It typically takes about 5 or 6 odd hours. My mom and I took 8 hours.
One way?
No, thankfully not. Return. And so, here's the experience that totally changed my perspective on life. We were going and it was a really nice weather and, all of that. And we were walking and lots of people joined us and they were singing and Sherpas and all of that, right? But suddenly, as we sort of reached the monastery and, started our trek back, the weather changed. And it started to, and we were caught in a hailstorm, right? We had gone in the summer. So we obviously didn't have the heavy, gear and jackets and all of that. My mom was wearing a fur jacket. fur is the worst when it comes to water,
Yeah.
right? So when the hailstorm started, by the way, hail hits you really hard.
Really?
It's, oh my god,
Okay.
I don't know what velocity it falls with, but it hits you really, really hard. I found out the bad way. And this was it's the Himalayas, so it's not a kind terrain, very very narrow path and all of that. And so we got caught on a hailstorm, and the trail was this wide. There was mountain on the one side, and obviously the valley on the other side. So we were going up, and suddenly my mom was like, I can't breathe. I was like, great, great. There is no one up ahead. There's no one else that we can see in the entire vicinity. And I was like, oh my god, it's raining. My mom is wearing fur, which is getting heavier with water. It's an uphill climb, with, I don't know, 45 to 60 degrees incline. And I don't know what to do. Like, there's no signal in the phone or whatever else. So we moved to the side, and there was this one ledge, formed by the rock. And I said, Mama, just like stand under this. I don't know what else to do.
Okay, yeah.
There was place only for one person to stand under the ledge.
Okay.
So my mom stood, and I stood facing her so as to cover her, however, a little bit. And then I don't know from where, but this lady came. And imagine we're in a situation where the most important thing at that point in time for anyone is a waterproof jacket,
Yeah.
right? This lady came, and she offered her waterproof jacket to my mom. And she was like, you know what, it looks like you need it. And I was like,
Wow.
this you need it too.
Wow.
All of us need it. So I didn't know with what heart could I have taken her jacket. If it was for me, I would have not taken it.
Yeah.
But because she offered, and my mom was in a really dangerous situation, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to take it.
Mhm.
So I took the jacket. That lady, passed us and went along without a jacket in the hailstorm. And then, I had asked for her name and all of that also. I have a Instagram post on this. I never saw her again.
Wow.
I don't know who she was, but that jacket basically got my mom through the hailstorm, and made her continue her trek back to the base. So the people in Bhutan are definitely happy, but that happiness has also, I'm sure, in some way afforded this sense of, I don't know,
Selfless.
selflessness, or selflessness most likely, that makes them give happiness to other people, which was a very, very interesting, uh, heartwarming experience for me. That.
This story kind of brought chills for a second, because especially the moment you said that I took the name and everything, but I couldn't search her.
Yeah.
If you hear old stories, people will link that it's a godsend.
Yeah, I totally think she was God sent.
Yeah.
I mean, she must have been a real person, but she was
Yeah.
totally God sent for me in that moment.
But how do we know it's a real person?
I don't know.
Yeah. Do you believe in such miracles? Like,
Yes, I believe in all miracles, and I believe in the universe. As I was telling in the break as well, the universe is going to make really good things happen.
so she gave you her Instagram and all?
Mm. I have a post on Instagram where I've narrated the story with her name, but I
You don't have a
couldn't
picture
find.
with her?
Yeah, I couldn't find it. There was no time for a picture. This is in the middle of a storm.
No, I'm getting very surprised.
Yeah.
So coming to miracles, you believe in miracles, you believe in spirituality, you believe in God, right?
I believe in the universe. One rendition of that is God. I'm not religious, but I'm definitely spiritual.
Do you follow any practices on a daily basis?
No.
Do you follow any meditation practices? No,
I want to.
you want to? Have you tried meditation?
No.
You haven't tried? That is surprising.
Yeah. I've been wanting to try it, but I feel like I don't have a mind calm enough to even get started.
Okay, that is interesting. You can try with 5 minutes, I would say.
Yeah. I intend to.
Yeah. I haven't done too much of myself, but I have tried few times. I think the idea is to bring your mind in the present moment, because either we are thinking about future, करना क्या है, or we are thinking about past कि क्या हुआ. It's rarely that we are thinking about present कि let's forget about everything else. अभी क्या चल रहा है, let's just be in present. यहाँ पे कप्स हैं, पॉडकास्ट चल रहा है, लाइट्स हैं, ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे हमारी जो सारी अटेंशन है वो भी प्रेजेंट मोमेंट में है. अभी हम भूल गए हमें क्या बात करना है, मेरे को क्या क्वेश्चन पूछना है, कुछ नहीं, मैंने क्या पूछा वो भी नहीं, अभी मैं क्या बात कर रहा हूँ, हम यहाँ हैं. अब ये फीलिंग को सस्टेन करना है फॉर 5-10 मिनट्स. आई थिंक दैट रियली ब्रिंग्स योर फोकस, एनर्जी, एवरीथिंग इनटू द नाउ. सो दैट इज़ द बेसिकली एजेंडा ऑफ दैट. सो मैं भी रेगुलरली नहीं कर पाता, but I think you should definitely try it.
I definitely should.
Yeah.
I need it.
Yeah, you have a very bubbly energy, which is a very good thing. But I think this kind of practice would kind of balance it out when you'll need it in life, right?
I agree.
Okay, now let's come to the final part of this session, dancing.
Love.
So, when did you start dancing, and when did you start actually learning dancing from a person? At what kind of age?
Yeah, when did I start dancing? तो पता नहीं, मतलब all children dance all the time, right?
No, that's not right. Let me tell you. So, I am coming from Haryana. Haryana people are more serious kind of people. कुश्ती वुश्ती लड़ लेंगे, ठीक है. Dancing and art is not that prevalent in Haryana, in general art. And my dad is very that serious kind of guy. He can't dance, he can't sing, no art. But my mom was kind of bubbly, just like you. So she pushed me a lot, and that's how I started during childhood. Ki she enrolled me into music classes and all. They were not good enough dance classes in Karnal. So I used to watch on TV. I was very excited. I used to do it in functions, parties, खुद से ही कुछ सीख के. And I used to get a lot of praise. That kind of motivated me कि यार जब टाइम आएगा, जब कहीं निकलेंगे करनाल से बाहर, तो डांस सीखना है. And then मैंने सीखना शुरू करा, and then I got into it basically ultimately. So yeah, so it's not as obvious as everyone.
Okay, I take that back then. Well, in that case, I started dancing really early. When I was a child, I learned Bharatnatyam, which is an Indian classical form, for about 4 or 5 years. And, that was during school, all of that. But somehow my heart was never in Indian classical dancing. So when I came into my own, when I went to school in Delhi or, college later on, I started learning different forms of dancing. I graduated from Bharatnatyam into jazz, and then I learned from this really good choreographer called Ashley Lobo, back in India. A few years of jazz, and then I discovered Latin dancing when I was in college.
Which city were you living in?
Delhi.
It was all in Delhi.
All of this was in Delhi. And then when I discovered Latin dancing, I was like, this is the shit. Because I say this in many classes, and you've heard this so many times. What really attracted me to Latin was that, that there is someone in every corner of the world. You go to any corner of the world, and there will be someone who's willing to take your hand and dance with you.
Yeah.
That feeling of like a shared goal of a connection that pre-exists was unbelievable to me. And so I really got into Latin dancing, learned about 7 forms of Latin American dance and all of that. and it was really good.
This was how many years back?
This was when I was in college, so 2005ish.
Was Latin that prevalent in India back then?
It wasn't actually.
Yeah.
Not as much, but but there were pockets of people who were still doing it and doing it rather well. So there was enough learning to be done. Now, when you go to India, it has a really good Latin scene, and so there's a lot of dancing to be done as well. But back then, there was a lot of learning to be done.
Was there any taboo associated with it?
Not with Latin, but I will tell you what the taboo was. Back in India, Latin is one story, but in general, when we would dance, on like Bollywood, or I was part of the choreography team in my college and all of that. I remember we used to do very androgynous dancing. Like boys and girls used to do the same dance.
Okay.
Huh? And so eventually I thought, I'm dancing like a boy,
Yeah.
right? Dancing like a girl in India was not a done thing at that point. It was not something that we did. It was considered very forward and a little too explicit, or I don't know. I mean, there are multiple words to it that I did not understand back then. But
What do you mean by dancing for like a woman? Just
I mean, for instance, there's this style called heels. You would have seen many of those. So it's a very feminine dance that brings out feminine energy. And so, the steps and the movements are also very bold in that kind of dance. That's not something that we did back in India. At least not something I did back in India in the day. And so it's a very interesting story. When I came to the US, the first month when I landed, I promised myself that I will be out of my comfort zone, right? And I will try new things, because otherwise, what is the point of crossing like 5 oceans and coming and being the same person that you were in India? So when I landed here, the first week, I went and registered for a pole dancing class. It was as feminine and as explicit as it could get. But I was like, I will push myself and do this.
is pole dancing feminine? I think men also do that, right?
Very few men do it, actually. Very few men do it. And, even though I registered for it, I went to the first class with the same mindset of a girl coming from India. I was like, other than me, everyone here is here to dance in nightclubs. And the one boy who is here is gay. So I had these preconceived notions, and that's how I went to a pole dancing class. Of course, all of those were wrong. That's a different thing. But yeah,
I think it requires a lot of arm strength, right? To
a lot of core strength. If you try to pull yourself with your arm, you will not get there.
Okay.
It needs so much core strength that it's not even funny.
Okay. So what about Latin dancing? I think partner dancing, let me tell you my experience. When I started it, when I started posting videos on Instagram with me dancing with different partners, then my mom was like, don't put it on Instagram.
Oh no, why?
It's like, I don't know, people might think you as, what's the word for it?
Playboy.
Yeah. Yeah. Promiscuous, to be like.
Oh my
gentle
god.
way.
Huh.
Finding a word like people might think that you are kind of like become that kind of person after going to US from a very studious kind of person, because I went to IIT. I was always very much into academics, and all of a sudden I'm posting videos with different girls on Instagram. Like, she was very worried about it. She had told me at least for 1.5 years, कि don't put such videos on Instagram. If you want to try new things, just try. Don't put it on Instagram. And she was even worried about that it will cause problems with my marriage potential options. So she had those kind of concerns. So I am talking about 2020. You started this Latin dancing 2005. Thus I'm very curious, like what kind of taboos, or were there any such things existing back then?
I'm sure they would have existed, but thankfully, I have a very, very open-minded family. So it didn't exist in my inner circle, and I have a way of blocking out toxicity. So thankfully I didn't go through that, that journey of taboo, at least from a social dancing perspective.
Yeah.
Like I said, my taboo was only in my mind, where I thought I couldn't, do explicit female dancing.
That's conquering your own fears,
Yeah.
not the societal ones.
Yeah, I don't have, I don't care as much.
Yeah. I think that was a big step for me coming from where I am and the kind of society Haryana is. Haryana is not very modern, forward thinking kind of society. So initially though, when I put my dance videos, even some of my friends like, this is your girlfriend. I'm like, no.
Maybe, but maybe not.
Maybe it's a different thing, but that doesn't mean that. And like eventually I'm dancing with different people. So eventually they got used to it.
Ari, you should have owned it.
All of them. 10. Yeah, but I think I discussed about this. So it was a challenge for me in terms of societal norms I was brought up in. It was a challenge for me as a person as well, because when you are brought up in that kind of setting, you are very shy. One of the reasons I started with this dancing is to be less shy in front of opposite gender, because I was super shy. मेरे से आवाज़ ही नहीं, मतलब पढ़ाई की बात कर लूँगा मैं, ठीक है, कोडिंग करवा लो मेरे से, बट कुछ भी ऐसे और कुछ बात करनी है इन जनरल वो नहीं हो पाएगी. तो आई थिंक दैट हेल्प्ड. एंड ऑल्सो आई थिंक नॉलेज, ये मैंने पिछले एपिसोड में भी बात करी है. मैन, if you're coming from that kind of society, they do not know what's a good touch, what's a bad touch, how do you make women feel, okay? They do not know any of that. Also they feel very awkward and shy in terms of opposite gender. या तो express ही नहीं कर रहे होंगे. Most men do not even express because one of the reasons is उन्हें यही नहीं पता कि क्या बोलना सही है, क्या बोलना सही नहीं है. डर लगा रहता है यार, कुछ बोल दूंगा गलत, बुरा तो नहीं लग जाएगा. That is one of the
this whole point of good touch and bad touch is very relevant, because I do bachata, and I do sensual bachata on the floor, right? But that's the thing. Even when you're doing a very, very close hold dance, you can still be respectful about it. And even when you're doing like a dance where you're holding someone, in open hold, you can still be lecherous. So that difference has very little to do with physical proximity, but it has to do a lot with intention.
Yeah.
That's the difference between a good touch and a bad touch.
Yeah. And I think also being comfortable.
It definitely takes time.
So when we were like kind of teaching salsa, we have observed, right, if you are new to this partner dancing, people take a lot of time to just get used to of that intimacy of the dance. Even if we don't even go into the
close hold. Yeah, that's true.
We don't even go there. Still, I think average person has that kind of how do I deal with the situation kind of like panic mode, like कितना करना है, कितना hold करना है.
You know how everyone when they're learning salsa or bachata initially looks down and dances?
Yeah. Yo, I had a huge problem with that. I myself had a huge problem. One problem is like you are a beginner, you want to see कि भी तुम्हारा पैर सही से चल रहा है ना. दूसरा ये कि आई कॉन्टेक्ट बनाना किसी से, वो भी स्ट्रेंजर से.
That is the most difficult part.
Exactly. So you feel awkward यार, मतलब.
और ये भी समझ नहीं आता कि कितनी देर तक देखना है इसको. You can't continue to look at someone, but you also have to like make sure that you're not looking, at someone else or at your feet. I think it's a really fine balance. And what I've realized is that it is obviously about recognizing who you're dancing with and what is their level of comfort. And B, about giving yourself permission to be, like you said, in the moment. If you are dancing with someone and if it's okay if you're, you have eye contact, it does not mean that you are either cheating on your partner or going to fall in love with this guy. It doesn't mean anything more than this one dance that you're doing with him.
Yeah. And I think you brought this, you connected with the being in moment. Let me tell you my first experience. Like when I started partner dancing, it felt meditative to me.
Wow.
Yeah, it felt actually meditative to me. I was learning those ballroom styles, not salsa bachata, because they are like quick, because they are very smooth and all, right?
Yeah.
So after that, I felt like I had 50 minutes of meditation.
You must be focusing so much on it.
I was just in the present moment. You know how much I work at Amazon. Like I am kind of that person who likes to work a lot. Then those 50 minutes, I wasn't thinking about work in the entire day, and I'm like, wow, this can happen. So it was a very meditative journey for me in the beginning. So I think that's true. When you are dancing, you are so much in the present moment. That acts like a meditation, definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I'm all for dancing.
Coming to dancing, I want to touch on a tangential topic:
What is tangential to dancing?
fitness.
Arey.
Why? I
अरे
feel
heartburn है थोड़ा because this is what we started our podcast with, right? I am on POV 90% of the time, and while POV is great, it is the love of my life, it is a lot of things, it is not my fitness journey. So
I agree, but overall, I feel that where you are, at what stage you are, will not reveal the age. But if you don't want to, but I feel
I don't mind.
okay, yeah. So I think your fitness is really good.
And it being thin or looking that looking like being thin and being fit are two different things.
You don't agree you're fit
Not entirely.
than an average person.
I don't know what someone else's level of fitness is, but I don't think my level of fitness is where I want it to be.
Okay. If you'll say this, then basically, let me tell you my journey to again put into the context. Lot of things I feel you are taking for granted in your life. Yeah, no, actually, because let me again tell you my journey. So, I am coming from a बनिया family. तो बनिया की क्लासिकल इमेज होती है पेट निकला हुआ बनिया. You know that, right? So, इन जनरल वो तो मजाक की बात होगी. इन जनरल मैंने ये देखा है हमारे यहाँ पर फिजिकल फिटनेस पे इतना ज़्यादा जोर नहीं दिया जाता, बिल्कुल भी नहीं दिया जाता. बल्कि जब मैं जिम जा रहा था पहली बार तो कंसर्न्स हो रहे थे, यार जिम नहीं जाना चाहिए, प्रोटीन पाउडर मत खाओ, वेट लिफ्टिंग मत करो, ठीक है, योगा करो. ठीक है, योगा इज़ वेरी गुड, आई स्टिल डू योगा, इट्स अमेजिंग, इट्स वेरी गुड फॉर योर मेंटल हेल्थ, नॉट जस्ट फिजिकल हेल्थ. I do it like 2 to 3 times a week. So I really enjoy yoga and it's a very good thing. But जो ये जिम वाली फिटनेस है या फिर उस टाइप की जो थी, उसके लिए एक बहुत टैबू था मेरी फैमिली में और अराउंड द सोसाइटी.
You should be on the other side of the podcast. I feel like you have such great answers to taboo questions.
नो बट that's what I'm saying. तो इसलिए मतलब रनिंग कर लो, थोड़ी सी एक्टिव रहो, बट ऐसे एक्टिवली परस्यूइंग फिटनेस वाज नॉट अ थिंग. एंड होल जेई जर्नी 11th-12th में तुम 10-10 12-12 घंटे पढ़ रहे हो, योर फिटनेस बिकम जीरो. तुम कुछ नहीं करते, योगा भी नहीं करते. एंड इवन इन IIT आई वाज इन कंप्यूटर साइंस, तो इट वाज सुपर हेक्टिक. तो वहाँ पे भी मैं पूरे टाइम पढ़ाई करता रहा. कभी मैंने रनिंग योगा भी नहीं करी 6 साल ले लगा लो. तो 6 साल से तुमने कुछ नहीं करा और मेरे को किसी ने बोला भी नहीं ये करना ज़रूरी है. लाइक दैट वाज नॉट इवन अ थिंग कमिंग फ्रॉम माई फैमिली और लाइक इवन फ्रेंड सर्कल आई वुड से. जब US में आया तब देखा कि यहाँ लोग कितना ज़्यादा फोकस करते हैं इन चीज़ों पे. देन आई गॉट इंट्रोड्यूस टू द कॉन्सेप्ट, अच्छा फिटनेस भी एक चीज़ होती है उस पर भी फोकस करना है. तो फिर मैं पहली बार जिम गया US में. इंडिया में मैं कभी जिम ही नहीं गया था. उसके बाद फिर मैंने डांसिंग वगैरह स्टार्ट करी तो एक मोटिवेशन मिला, यार डांस कर रहे हैं तो फिट तो रहना पड़ेगा, यू नीड अ लॉट ऑफ कोर स्ट्रेंथ, ये स्ट्रेंथ वो स्ट्रेंथ. ठीक है, तो दैट्स हाउ माई फिटनेस जर्नी स्टार्टेड. सो आई वुड से कि मेरी फिटनेस जर्नी बहुत ही बेकार थी. एंड आई फील लाइक राइट नाउ आई वट एवर इन माई हेक्टिक शेड्यूल मैं योगा कर लेता हूँ, बैडमिंटन खेलने जाता हूँ. आई इट सेल्फ कंसिडर इट्स अ बिग विन फॉर मी. या सो हैविंग सेड दैट, वही मैं कह रहा था, यू टेक अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स कि ये तो सभी लोग करते ही हैं.
नहीं, absolutely not.
I think given your entire core strength and वगैरह, you also dance a lot. So tell us what you said that you are not finding time right now, but I am sure that you will still find some time given your personality.
Yeah, पता है. I think given my personality, as you just said, the misgiving of this personality is that I have trouble doing repeated tasks. I cannot do something that is not constantly new and challenging, which is why my fitness journey has only been dance. For the times that I have been dancing actively, I have been fit and or whatever, some version of fit. But of late, with POV and me moving to the suburbs, I'm not able to, attend or take, neither attend nor take as many dance classes. And dance is the only type of fitness that I have ever done.
You hadn't done yoga?
I have not done yoga. I mean, I've done like yoga once in 6 months or 3 months, very sporadically.
Kind of warm up exercises you make us
That
do.
is all I know.
Okay, that's all. But I was thought that was just a glimpse of the entire thing, you know. I thought you were a yoga expert based on that.
That is all I know. The warm up that we do in sun salutation, that is all the yoga I know.
Oh, I see.
So, yeah. So, I have a really good art of packaging things.
Are you a vegetarian? No. So you already have your good enough protein intake, or do you still take extra protein? No. No.
I have no fitness regime.
Okay. Do you have any schedule? Are you good at discipline and schedule?
I'm good at showing up. So, I don't have a schedule. I live by my calendar. If it is on my calendar, it will get done come what may. Whether it takes me 24 hours of staying awake or pushing my limits to whatever, if it's on my calendar, it'll get done. And so, my only discipline is to get all the important things on the calendar and make sure that, I'm hitting and sort of crossing all of those. Um, but other than that, I don't have like a routine because, like I said, routine is doing the same thing over and over again. And I feel like I have some kind of ADHD. And so I cannot bring myself to do things repeatedly.
What about sleeping and waking up routine?
Well, it's all, it's all up in the air at this point.
You are an early riser, from what I know, right?
No, I love sleeping in the morning. And now I sleep mostly in the morning because I'm up all night with the India team.
Yeah, because whenever you used to invite us for like shoots and all, 8 a.m. pe aa jana.
And that was only because I did not want the crowds to sort of, start building up during later times. I hated the 8 a.m. shoots more than you did. I hate early mornings.
That tells कि अगर जरूरत पड़ेगी, काम पड़ेगा, you can go to any extent. So you go by that.
If it's on my calendar, it'll get done. I believe in showing up.
That's a good principle to have. So, one more question related to dancing. Do you think Latin as a form, which you pursue so actively, inspires your POV design in some ways?
I feel like they are both a manifestation of the creativity that I have in my soul. And so whether it is Latin or it is POV, I try to add my unique perspective to it. Like, I don't do Latin, I do Bolly Latin, which is not a very usual form, right? Very few people actually do Latin on Bollywood songs. And so it takes a little bit of an extra thinking or having a different perspective than the usual to get Bollywood into Latin. And similarly for POV, it takes a little bit of extra care, just that extra attention to make sure that pockets are in the right place and not adding to the bulge, and making sure that we're working backwards from what women typically do as hacks. Very small things like there's something called a bra strap holder, right? When you wear sleeveless, every woman is mortified that her strap should not show. It's not even funny how much we live in that fear. The simplest solve for that is to have a ribbon that can just hold the strap in place. I don't know why don't all women's clothing have that. So just like making sure that you're thinking about adding, an extra touch with extra care to whatever it is that you do.
Let me tell you my image of you.
ये ऑफलाइन ले सकते हैं.
नहीं, this is in good parts only.
चलो ठीक है. Okay, bring it on.
When I think of Aditi, I think of first word comes is modern.
Model.
Modern.
Oh, modern. Oh, I was like model तो मैं हुई.
In the sense कि मैंने modern इसलिए बोला क्योंकि मैंने यही बोला कि for me all these things were modern. Latin dancing, fashion, even pursuing fashion as a career is modern for me. I'm coming from that kind of background. So modern is one word. Second is I would say sass. थोड़ा ऐसे glimmer, sass, bubbliness. जैसे like you said like कि I like that feminine energy. So feminine का एक बहुत बड़ा part होता है sass. Being confident and sassy and sparkly within yourself. So that is the image I always get when I think of Aditi. And I think that is, I am seeing in your dancing, I'm seeing in your clothes. And I think third is care, like you said, which is coming in terms of functionality. So that is Aditi for you guys. It was an amazing, super inspirational episode, I would say. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and I think people who want to enter into any fashion kind of business, उनके लिए बहुत ही informational है. We talked about everything. ठीक है, even we touched on relationships, and I think उन लोगों के लिए inspirational है जो मेरे kind of background से आ रहे हैं, who have lot of battles to basically fight, थोड़ी societal battles, to reach where I am right now. So I think it's inspiring to see you embody that thought process which I aspire to be.
You're already there.
I'm already there. Okay, now I am already there, but at some point.
No, I get it.
And you always kind of remind me of that when I think of it. So I hope you will love this episode. And I think, do you want to say anything to our audience before you?
I think for the last 90 minutes I have said.
No, just some final words.
No, I think this was great. I loved chatting with you. I love these kind of conversations because, you never rehearse these answers.
Yeah.
They're so like from the heart, and sometimes you're also listening to yourself saying it for the first time, and then it surprises me as to how what words they are taking and all of that. I would just leave the audience with one or two things. One, I think, is most of us are, will take pivots in our life. And what has helped me through this pivot is finding a tribe.
Yeah.
So, let's all open our minds to who our tribe is. Our tribe does not have to look like us, be from the same country, state, whatever. I've found my tribe in founders, entrepreneurs, hustlers, small business owners in America. And that's the third kind of relationship that I was talking about. And, a tribe is something that sort of brings like-minded people together. And so definitely find your tribe, open yourselves to various opportunities to find these tribes. And two, be uncomfortable all the bloody time, because there's no growth without being uncomfortable. If it's easy, then you're meant to do bigger things.
Yeah.
Right? So always just like remember that, and once you decide on what you want, you will definitely get it, because the universe will make it happen. So believe that.
Let's end this on that note.